Hi guys, Josh Lloyd here for your NBA first look for DraftKings for Friday. We've got 8 games on, pending any other cancellations that might occur. The first game we look at are two teams we haven't seen for a while, the Orlando Magic and the Boston Celtics, because they've been having their COVID issues to deal with and cancellations there. If we look at this one, there are still some unknowns. Jason Tatum's not playing, but we don't know if guys like Jaylen Brown, Daniel Tice, Javonte Green, Shemi Ojeleye, they're all questionable for Boston. Grant Williams and Tristan Thompson are both probable, so they'll likely be returning. On the Orlando side, they're going to be without, of course, Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac. Michael Carter-Williams and Evan Fournier are also out for Orlando. No spread or total out for this one at this point. Grant Williams is almost minimum salary, $3,500, and there is an opportunity for him with Jason Tatum out. I wouldn't be getting too excited about Grant Williams, but the last two performances were over 20 fantasy points, and at $3,500, there is some value in that. Jaylen Brown's up at $8,900, and for good reason, because without Kemba Walker, who's still out, his return is coming soon, and without Jason Tatum, Brown is going to have an absolutely monster usage. He's averaging 47 already over the last 3 games, and at $8,900, I do like him there. While Nikola Vucevic at $9,000 for the Orlando Magic. Vooch has just been consistently getting you around that 45 to 50 mark. In fact, his last 3 games have given us on average 53 DraftKings points. I don't know who's going to start for Tatum. They could put Shemi Ojeleye in there, but I think they might go back to the Tyson Thompson front court there, which would mean playing Ojeleye at the 3, which is pretty disgusting to think about. So maybe they start Jeff Teague, maybe they start Peyton Pritchard. They're the two options I think they'd go with. Pritchard's at 47, while Teague's at 44. There is options to use either one of those, not both, in a GPP, with that understanding that one of them could be a starter. Cole Anthony's at 5,500. He hasn't really got things going. And I'm not sure against Boston is probably the right time that I want to try and experiment with getting him into a lineup. Dallas is the next game. They're taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. Dallas, of course, has their own COVID issues. Maxi Kleber, Josh Richardson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Dwight Powell are all out, but Kristaps Porzingis is back, and his first game was pretty juicy. The Bucks here, though, are favored by 6 points. So that's it's a decent enough margin. The total 227. Milwaukee's going to welcome back Torrey Craig. Porzingis is on the injury report with an ankle issue. I don't think that's anything to worry about. Well, Drew Holiday's also popped up on the injury report as probable. All right, let's have a look. Here, Doncic is at $11,000. He is averaging 71 DraftKings points over the last 3 games. He's obviously ridiculously good. The Bucks defense might be reason to fade him, but at 11,000, I don't think it's a problem, nor do I think using Yanni at 10.8 is a problem. This game should be decently competitive, so big minutes hopefully coming for both those guys. No Dwight Powell, so we're going to get Willie Cauley-Stein starting again. At 4,500, Cauley-Stein can be a 20-point guy. He had 32 last game, even with Porzingis out there. So I do think he's worth a look. And same with James Johnson at 46, although I'd probably go more towards Cauley-Stein than I would with James Johnson. Trey Burke, I don't like that he's up at 4,900. He was slated to start last game, and they made a last-minute switcheroo and put Timmy Hardaway in there. He'll get the minutes, but I don't really like it at that price. Middleton's at 82. It's probably a little bit too high, while Hardaway at 6,900. I do like that one quite a bit, although Hardaway is a bit of a scorer with not much else, and that does sort of limit some of his upside. Porzingis at 8,000, it's too high for a guy who probably, you would imagine, is going to be limited in his minutes again. The next game we look at is the Cleveland Cavaliers hosting the New York Knicks. No spread or total here. They're on the injury report. The Cavs do not have the traded players. Now, the trade is official, but they do not have those traded players listed on the injury report. So I am under the assumption that Taurean Prince and Jarrett Allen will be available to play. Now, whether they do play or not remains to be seen, but I believe they will be available. I tell you who won't be available: Colin Sexton or Darius Garland or Kevin Love or Kevin Porter or Matthew Dellavedova or Dylan Windler. These guys are all out for Cleveland. The Knicks are going to be without Alec Burks again, while Reggie Bullock is questionable. Andre Drummond missed last game for Cleveland, but he is probable with an Achilles issue. But how his minutes look in this one is anyone's guess, especially if Allen is ready to play. What are they going to do? 26-22, 24-24? Play Allen 15 minutes? I don't really see that happening. Anyway, Isaac Okoro is at 3,900, and they do still need minutes from somebody on the wing there with all those guards out. I'm not sure I'm excited about Okoro. I do like Damian Dotson, although he shit the bed a bit last time, 17 points in 31 minutes. He's at 5,200, and Larry Nance has been too inconsistent for me to like. I wouldn't be using Drummond at that 9,300 mark. I just don't know what's going to happen with the minutes with him and Jarrett Allen. While Julius Randle at 9,100 has been giving us some pretty strong numbers, even with Tom Thibodeau grinding his knees into pieces of butter and shrimp tails. He's at 9,100. The matchup here, even though the Cavs somehow have the best defense in the NBA, I'm not really worried about Randle being limited all that much there. Barrett's at 7,000. He's a no from me. So is Peyton. So is Mitch Robinson. While Emmanuel quickly had a really strong performance. He's at 3,300. It is tough to rely upon him, but I don't mind him as an option. All right, the next game is the Memphis Grizzlies. They are taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves again. We saw this matchup just a couple of days ago. This is an 8 p.m. tip-off, 8 p.m. East Coast tip-off. Injury-wise, we don't have Juancho Hernan-Gomez, who's going to be out for the next week or so with COVID stuff. Jake Layman is out as well. So we do have an opportunity. Ricky Rubio also out with COVID protocols. So we do have an opportunity here for Jared Vanderbilt. 3,900. There is some talk from Ryan Saunders that he's going to start Anthony Edwards at power forward. That's cool. Why wouldn't you start your number one overall pick shooting guard as your starting power forward, especially when he's struggled as much as he has? But Jared Vanderbilt should be the guy they're looking at there. Vanderbilt at under 4,000, 3,900 to be exact, is a pretty strong option to me as at least a GPP upside guy. I guess you could have a flyer on Anthony Edwards. I don't feel great about it because he's been really, really poor of late. Look at his last couple of performances, 7 DraftKings points and 8 DraftKings points. Now, he's better than that, and the salary's come down, so at least gives him some appeal there, but he has been pretty rough. With no Rubio, Jordan McLaughlin's going to be in the rotation, and he is a true minimum salary player. Not sure he's going to be a great option, but if they're having to force Edwards to play up at the 4, that means there'll be some time for dual point guard lineups between McLaughlin and Russell. And he can be like an 18-point guy, which at $3,000 is all right. Xavier Tillman looks like he's commandeered the backup center role in Memphis. He's averaging 22 over the last 3, and he's at $3,300. So that's one that I don't think many people will use. While Karl Anthony Towns looks like he's going to get 50 almost every night. At sub 10,000, he is a really good option. D'Angelo's at 83. I'm not interested there. But the other big news, I guess, that I should have probably mentioned off the top is that good old Ja Morant, he's questionable. Now, if he returns, that obviously puts a pin in a lot of these Grizzlies guys' value, like Tyus Jones, DeAnthony Melton. I wouldn't be wanting to use Ja first game back. But at 7,500, it's not a complete disaster to put him in there. That is not an expensive price. Malik Beasley's been putting up really big numbers. He's at 7,100 because look at what he's been doing over his last 10 games. You have 48, 29, and 40 in the last 3 games. At 7,100, you'd hope for one of those 40-point games. The worry I always have with him is that so much of it is just based on scoring, although last game he did a little bit more than scoring, which does help his overall value in the end. The next game we take a look at, we've got the Chicago Bulls. We haven't seen them in action for a while either. They're taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. In Oklahoma City, Al Horford rested last game. He should be back. Lauri Markkanen returns for Chicago. We don't have Thomas Satoransky back, but we do have Ryan Archer-Jacquinot back. We don't have Chandler Hutchison back either. 77 for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. His last couple have been pretty poor. I think people will be pretty reticent to use Shai, so that would make him a good GPP guy. And the 56 for Al Horford, I really like that, especially against a matchup where opposing centers have been putting up some pretty good numbers against the Chicago Bulls. So Horford just needs 30, 32 DraftKings points, and he beats that number pretty easily. Darius Bazley is questionable. If he is out, do they go with Alexei Pokusevski as the starter? 3,300 for Poku. Yeah, I'd be pretty interested in him, at least as a GPP guy, while I wouldn't use Bazley. And the 59 for Markkanen, I think, has some appeal. I'm not 100% in on it, but there is some appeal. I wonder what they're going to do with Kobe White eventually, or how his minutes look, because they've been so high lately when guys like Satoransky return, but we don't have to worry about that here. He's at 7,400. I like it, while Levine is all the way up at 9,500. That's probably going a bit high, but in saying that, Levine's averaging 54 points in the last 5 games. So while it's a little hard to stomach spending that much on Levine, he has been producing. Hamidou Diallo's at 4,900. I just don't really think that guy is as good as what some of his recent performances may have indicated to some. So therefore, I'm going to be probably pretty cautious in considering him as an option. The next game, we've got the Atlanta Hawks and the Utah Jazz. The Jazz are 6-point favorites. The total here is 223 points. Rudy Gobert's at 7,800. His latest performances have been pretty rough. I don't mind getting back to him against a Hawks team, while Capella at 67 is dealing with a hand issue. We don't know if he's going to play, so I'd be pretty careful in using Capella. But I do like Gobert there. Conley's at 6,900, which I do like that price. And there is no Danilo Gallinari, no Bogdan Bogdanovic, of course, for the Atlanta Hawks. Don Mitchell's at 8,400. His last couple of games have been improved, but I'm not buying him at that price. I am excited about Trae Young at 87, who really started to get it going again last game, had 45 points in that one. I think we can look at him as a 40-plus point performer, while 6,000 for DeAndre Hunter's been good for most of the season. I'm not sure I fully buy into it, especially against the Jazz defense, which can be tough to negotiate. With Joe Ingles out, maybe we look at minimum salary Mie One, who put up some really good numbers last time out. One, he's a minimum salary player, but he put up 20 points last time out. And while many of you won't have ever used Mie One in a DraftKings lineup before, 20 fantasy points on 18 points. The 3 blocks help there, and that probably boosted his numbers. But he's just at least a name that's going to differentiate your lineup, and he's probably going to find a larger role in the rotation. You could also throw George Niang into that mix as well, someone who'll play a few extra minutes with Ingles on the sideline. The next game that we take a look at, we've got the New Orleans Pelicans and the Los Angeles Lakers. We know that Lonzo Ball is out for the Pelicans. Eric Bledsoe remains questionable, while Zion Williamson is back, while LeBron and Anthony Davis are questionable for the Lakers. Nickeil Alexander-Walker absolutely exploded last time. Now, it's not exactly the same scenario here for Alexander-Walker, because last time it was no Lonzo, no Bledsoe, no Zion. We might have 2 of those 3 back. We've definitely got 1 of those 3 back. So he is at least worth looking at 4,400, but the chances of him dropping a 53-pointer are pretty low, and I think a lot of people will go back to using him, which might make him an interesting fade. With Davis at 98, LeBron at 9,700. They've both been probably a little bit underperforming those numbers. I'd prefer LeBron at his 9,700 price than Davis at 98. Harrell's at 56. I like that. There's a solid enough floor there. Ingram at 86 also got a pretty solid floor value. Dennis Schroeder at 64, Eric Bledsoe at 57. I'd be interested in Bledsoe at that 57 price point if we hear that he's playing, because he is going to get a lot more ball handling responsibilities with the absence of Lonzo Ball. So he would be someone that we can take a look at there. Steve Adams at 64. Yeah, I think that's just probably a little bit too high for Steve, to be honest. Let's look at the next game. It is the last game of the day. It is the LA Clippers. It is the Sacramento Kings. The Clippers are going to be with, well, no, they might be without Lou Williams and Patrick Beverley. Both guys are questionable, while Buddy Hield is probable for Sacramento. If both Beverley and Williams are out, we're going to see a lot of Luke Kennard, and we might even see someone like a Mia Coffey step into the rotation. Marcus Morris is at 3,700 because he's not doing very much. But there is a chance for him to ignite and get some shots to fall off the bench. I don't hate just at least having him in a player pool. Kawhi's at 9,600, absolute rock-solid play in my opinion at that sort of a salary, while De'Aaron Fox is starting to come good. 8,100 for Foxy. He looks all right to me, although the matchup's not an ideal one there. Rashawn Holmes at 6,800. He is just doing it almost every single night. Does Serge Ibaka worry me in terms of the matchup? Not really. And then 9,400 for Paul George. Also a really rock-solid play. 2 of the better high-price plays with George and Kawhi Leonard. Tyrese Halliburton's up to 6,700. I think that's probably pushing it just a little bit too high, in my opinion. All right, that'll do it. That's Friday's games done. 8 of them in the NBA. By the time you're watching this tomorrow, maybe there's only 7 games on, maybe there's only 6 games on. We're not sure. But don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell down below, leave a comment, give a thumbs up as well, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. See ya.